Now, the federal government has cautioned Nigerians against political and ethnic sentiments capable of swelling the current ethnic tensions in the country. It says it will not take lightly anyone found fanning the ember of violence by posting or releasing comments that are capable of disintegrating the country. This came on the heels of the clashes in the southwest region involving the Fulani herdsmen and indigents. Joining us on Newsday to discuss this is a former presidential aspirant, Adamu Garba. Adamu Garba, welcome to Newsday. Now, it would seem that we're at a point of a peace impasse, but are you bold to say that after the meeting of yesterday, we're on the track to actual peace? Are there any of the discussions or the discussions that have come from that meeting encouraged you to feel that we're making the right strides towards a more fundamental and stable peace?
My reasons for saying that, a situation whereby you have a confrontation, a very heavy one, where there are a lot of talks around it, there were a lot of frank conversation. It means the meeting between the governors and the herdsmen is going to be very frank conversation, where everybody will not air its own grievances and a compromise will have been reached. So I believe this is the kind of frank conversation that we need to have generally, even in the country, not just between the herdsmen and the southwest issues that we are having. So I believe this the step that was taken by the government to ensure this kind of meeting took place is actually the right stride towards peace. Especially if you notice the whole herdsman crisis is usually purely economics issue. And once you have an economic challenge that culminated into security breaches, it's having the easiest pathway to fixing that particular situation. And that is why I believe that kind of meeting is actually what is needed now. And I believe peace is actually on very soon, considering the fact that the conversation, I believe, is very frank, very detailed, and very, very confrontational. Everybody had its own grievances, and the grievances were hard. And of course, that is actually at least the panacea towards peace.
All right, Garba, the presidency did initiate this parley between the Mieti Allah and the governor of Ondo State, as well as the governors, other governors of some of the governors of Western State. How does this resonate with you when we talk about the place or position leadership should take and conflict resolution?
I believe the approach we have been taking in this country for a very long time around conflict resolution have not been yielding the necessary results. And I believe government need to devise a new strategy. Because a situation whereby your conflict resolution approach is usually carrying stick and shooting people and stopping them, don't do this again, go back, don't sin no more, without keeping them together to have frank, open deliberation about what are the real cause, the root cause of the problems, and what are the ways that you can apply to be able to get the necessary solution should be the way to fix this problem. I can even tell you we have historical precedent to this thing. In 1987, we had a little bit of religious crisis around Kaduna in the 90s. And eventually, based on some records, that is actually what brings about some religious extremism and separation in the north between the Muslims, some Muslims group and the Christians, that in fact some people say even get back to Boko Haram that we see today. Why? Because when people are fighting or they are confronting each other, they are expressing grievances. And those grievances mostly keep getting amplified when they are not talking. Because when you are not talking, you are acting. But when you are given opportunity or a platform to sit down and talk, you will not be fighting, you will be talking. And once you talk, you vomit nearly everything in your mind. And at the end of the day, you will discover when you bring them on the table, you will eventually discover that they are actually fighting for common interests. Maybe just a miscommunication and disalignment of priorities that brought about the issue in the first place. So the federal government should culminate a very strong conflict resolution strategy where both parties will always come on board to discuss their sincere grievances.
Okay.
But the situation where we have security first approach, you send the military men or the policemen and ask them to just disperse the raging issue and let everybody go and see no more, that doesn't mean the problem disappears. It's still within their minds. And in some cases, it even remains within the minds of their children. So after them, these issues get inherited. And then you keep getting psychological problems. So what we need to do is the conflict mechanism in this country have fundamentally need to change, and that you have to have a conflict resolution strategy where people can come together and discuss their sincere grievances, especially in the case of Herdsmen and the crisis that we have in the South.
Okay, Mr. Garba, I believe that someone last night seemed to be on the same tangent as you, but stressed that, and I'm speaking of Kadaria Ahmed last night speaking to the same matter, she stressed that she didn't feel the meeting was going nearly enough. To sort of try and paraphrase her, she says, we're dealing with the complex issue of Nigeria, but we're looking for simplified solutions, shortcuts, that we need to be ready to break down the nuances involved. So, perhaps we're saying getting together and speaking is a start, but she's saying it's by no means the end of the road. There's so much more to the issues of Nigeria. And I just want to throw this in before you come in, which is to say, perhaps the reason people get so easily inflamed is that they too are looking for a quick fix. How do we remedy the mindset of the people that are being played to when people start to inflame the embers of tribalism or religiosity?
Yes, as I said earlier, we need an avenue where everybody will now discuss. And let me give you a scenario of what happened yesterday in the meeting. Of course, Mieti Allah were there, some governors were there from the southwest and the north. But we have several Mieti Allahs. Much of the Mieti Allah represented the Fulanis in the meeting. We have Mieti Allah Kautal Hore, we have Makban, Mieti Allah Cattle Breeders Association of Nigeria. We have several satellite Mieti Allahs in different villages that have even no connection to the town. There are so many Fulanis that don't even recognize Mieti Allah as a body to represent them. Most profoundly, those Fulanis that are in the villages. So when you meet with Mieti Allah and have a discussion, how sure are you that you are discussing with the right people, the right audience that actually need to hear your side of the story? So these are the things that we need to ask. So we don't have to, I agree that we don't have to approach them with a very simplified solution that we can culminate into quick fix. We have to look at the problem holistically. Don't be surprised, you are journalists, if you go into investigative action and get into this bullshit and listen to the side of those people that are doing this kind of criminality. You'll be so shocked that they have, according to them, a very justified reason why they should do so. Why? Because they are not brought on the table. And the matter has not been discussed properly with them directly. So we have to always have a holistic and a compound discussion around why are we even Nigerians. Like when somebody come out and say he's a secessionist, he wants to leave the country. Why not an avenue provided for this kind of person to come and express their sincere grievances with the system and get the necessary actions? Like in some fora, I had having a conversation. Yes.
What more should leaders do? Because we seem to have a challenge, a problem really on our hands of ethnic profiling and stigmatization. Again, Kadaria referred to this. She was talking about being a Fulani and the fact you can't say because some people are bad, then you say all Fulanis are bad or all Igbos are bad or all Yorubas are bad. So what should our leaders be doing concerning wiping away or changing the narrative or, if you like, the minds of those who go on the bandwagon of ethnic profiling and stigmatization?
Yes, the issue here is the platform that these politicians used to take opportunity. Of course, I'm a politician too. So the platform that the politicians used to take to advocate for this ethnic profiling, the cheapest way to win political power is to talk to people based on their sensitivities, especially ethnicity. So the people need to be aware about the differences between when they need to be an ethnic group and when they need to be in a nation. And the media, most importantly, must have content strategy that must make sure that whatever goes there does not inflame. Because to some extent, politicians take advantage of what is available. They don't create situations in most cases. They just take advantage of what is available. They come to you, you don't have water, and they tell you that they are going to provide you with Atlantic Ocean so that you can vote for them. So they take advantage of what is available. But the media is not censorship. I know you have a duty to report everything the way I convey to you as maybe as a person who has an opinion, but there are some kind of content that should not be reflected as much as possible to inflame this kind of sensitivities, because we are living in a country where the center always, it seems, as identified with the origin of the person who is sitting at the helm of the center. When President Jonathan was there, everybody is talking about Niger Delta. President Buhari came in, everybody is now talking about Fulani, you know. And then you now have Obasanjo, when he was there, everybody is talking about Yoruba. So it's always like this. So we have this kind of sensitivities, and everybody have a role to play in cementing the unity of this country. Because to the best of my knowledge, if you ask the secessionists, why do you want to live? At the root of everything is economics. The making of this country itself is an economic entity. I always say that it's not a political entity. So what we need to do is to find the economic integration between us, much more than the politics that even seems to divide us more. So what we need to do is to be sincere with ourselves, to be very frank with the way we relate with each other. And if our relationship with each section in the country, each ethnic group in the country happen to be economics, trust me, there will not be a situation whereby I will want my business person to be injured simply because I make money while he lives. And there is no way I will have a problem with any other ethnic class simply because if I am selling shoes, everyone is my customer. And that is why if you go to metropolitan cities where you have a lot of mix of this ethnic group transacting and doing business together, you hardly get this kind of polarization. This thing happens in villages, remote villages, where identity and ethnic politics reign supreme. So if we can extend this kind of cosmopolitanism into these kind of areas and try to make people understand the reason why they shouldn't ethnically profile each other, I believe it's going to be best. And most importantly, government and leaders must come first and foremost with policies that enable economic productivity of ordinary citizens than just keep them as political machines to win political power. Because if everyone has something to do with the next person, trust me, there will be no way I will want another person that doesn't belong to my ethnic group to have problems simply because I know that I can sell to that person. So these are the kind of ways leaders need to be able to think about it. We have to grow beyond politics and start thinking around economic integration about ourselves, and also look at the political system realistically. We don't have to be enforcing ourselves with some constitution that sometimes was invented and imported to us. We have to look at our political realities. Must we operate the same political system in the country? Okay, we have so many federations.
Mr. Garba, because we're running out of time, I just want to try and identify what you're saying. Some people have argued along the lines of what you're saying, and they've called it economic restructuring along fiscal, do you say, leanings? So is that what you're pointing to?
Yes. What I'm trying to point out is Nigeria will have to be seen as an economic entity. All the economic restructuring that have to happen should link us together so that we can transact with each other much more than we politically relate with each other. Because if we put politics first, there will naturally always going to be tendencies for polarization. But if we put economics first, especially on the ordinary citizens, trust me, the politics is not going to ensure any division, because the economics will be more valuable to the people between themselves than the politics that sometimes don't add anything to their table. So that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Adamu Garba, former presidential candidate. Thank you for joining us on Newsday.